Today I wanted to talk about death. And I think when we tackle about what is death and what happens after we die, if we can even speak of such a thing with meaning, because obviously there's a huge problem when we're talking about how to theorize about death, is that we can't know what is death like. We'd have to die first, but when we die, we're gone. So when we're gone, we're not there to know. So that's a very daunting issue to like figure out what the hell is death, because you're never supposed to experience. It's not an experience. Death is not an experience to have. It's the lack of experience. It's the lack of you. Now, some people, because they don't want to reach the conclusion that nothing happens after you die, that is just a big, black nothingness void, they'll come up with some sort of theory of the afterlife where you continue on. When you die, then, well, you go to heaven. Well, then you didn't really die, because dying is the end of you. The concept of you, is gone. So, the idea of an afterlife is really a cop-out, because you're really just continuing on without dying. You're just changing locations from planet Earth to heaven. It's more of just a transportation of you to a different location. That it doesn't actually address the issue of death. Because if we assume that, there really is no other death. There is no death of you. You just continue on indefinitely into heaven, or whatever is your theory of the afterlife. So if that's what we mean by afterlife, I do not believe in an afterlife. But I also cannot agree that there's just a nothing black void after you die. Or a black void is the closest we can conceptualize to nothing, because even black is something. But it's the closest that we can imagine what it's like for a nothing oblivion death. And I kind of used to think about that. I used to agree with that. I used to agree that death was some sort of oblivion. But I don't believe that anymore. And I think actually the correct answer is probably some sort of reincarnation. And let me explain why. So, death is around us all the time. Here's how we can know something about death. It's because we observe it objectively all the time. We just can't experience it subjectively because it's not an experience to experience. But we do see that things change, people age, and they pass away. We see that change is a sort of kind of death, because the thing that was is now in the past, and now what is here is now here, which is different from what it was in the past. For example, if a house burns down, well, now the house is in the past. It is now a pile of ashes. The house has transformed from a house to a pile of ashes. Now, is the pile of ashes the house? No, the house is gone. The house is in the past. But there's something here, it's the pile of ashes. So something new here. The house transformed into a pile of ashes. So it's not the house anymore, but it is something new. And I think we can liken that analogy to the soul. What happens when the soul perishes? Well, I think what we can know about it is that it's going to be something new. It won't be you. You are the end, or you are at the end when you're at death. Death is the end of you. There is no continuation of you. Sorry to break it to you, but there is no afterlife. We are finite beings after all. We are limited by a finite nature. So, because we have a beginning, we must have an end too. There is no indefinite continuation of us. We will pass on to the past eventually. But just like how we observe other things, how they perish into the past and transform into a new thing, which is not the same thing as the thing previously, but it is nevertheless new, we can say the same thing about death, that your soul will transform into something new. So it's kind of like reincarnation, but without the re, because you're not reincarnating, because there is no you. So it's just an incarnation. It's not you anymore, but it is something new. So it's not a black void. So what's the point of me talking about this? Well, I think it brings a lot more assurance, that it brings a lot more peace in mind what's eventually going to come to all of us, which is that we're all going to die. It does bring a peace of mind that, well, yes, maybe I burn down like the house, but I turn into ash, and then the ash turns into something new, and that turns into something new, and then that turns into something new. See, there cannot be nothing, truly nothing, because non-existence doesn't exist. There is no such thing as non-existence. It's not happen when you die. It's just a state of non-existence. There is no such thing as a state of non-existence. It's a contradiction in terms. How could non-existence exist? Of course, it doesn't exist. Non-existence doesn't exist. What exists is existence. And you're existing. And whether you transform into something new, that existence will continue on. In a sense, if we look at the death of every moment, the moment that you're experiencing right now, what you were previously died last moment. Now it's a new moment. It's something new. And yes, it's the continuation of you because you feel a sense of I. You feel a sense of myself continuing. But what you were in the past is now in the past. And now what you are in the moment is what you are in the moment. And so in a sense, we're always feeling a perishing, a death within ourselves as we grow in age and become older. So, simply that just continues on after you die. After when you're gone, it just continues. What does it continue into? We will never know. We can't never know because, we can never know because we're not there to know it, of course. But it's okay to transform into something new. We're always doing it all the time, so why not you yourself transform into something new? That's what death is. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I'd like to hear your thoughts about this.